Imagine discovering a single green stone so valuable that kings started wars for it, pirates crossed oceans to steal it, and thousands of people risked their lives for the chance to find just one. For more than 2,000 years, emeralds have inspired legends, fueled dangerous expeditions, and created fortunes beyond imagination. But here's the crazy part. The world's finest emeralds weren't hidden inside royal palaces. They were buried deep beneath some of the most dangerous mountains on Earth, waiting millions of years to be discovered. So how did one green crystal become one of the most valuable treasures in human history? From the legend of El Dorado to deadly mines and a billion-dollar industry, this is the incredible story of the emerald. And trust me, the deeper we go, the more unbelievable it becomes. Imagine standing beside a peaceful mountain lake just before sunrise. The air is cold. Thick mist floats across the water. Hundreds of people gather silently around the shore, dressed in colorful clothes, holding gold ornaments and sparkling green stones in their hands. No one speaks. Everyone waits. Then a wooden raft slowly glides toward the middle of the lake. Standing on it is a young prince. His entire body shines, not because he's wearing armor, but because every inch of his skin has been covered with fine gold dust. As the first rays of sunlight touch his body, he looks almost supernatural, like a man made entirely of gold. When the raft reaches the center of the lake, something incredible happens. The prince raises his hands to the sky and jumps into the water. As the gold dust washes away, the people standing along the shore throw priceless emeralds and golden treasures into the lake as gifts to their gods. This wasn't a fairy tale. For centuries, this ceremony was believed to happen in the mountains of present-day Colombia, and this single ritual gave birth to one of the greatest legends in human history, El Dorado. But here's the interesting part. Most people think El Dorado was a city made of gold. It wasn't. Originally, El Dorado meant the Golden One. It referred to a single ruler covered in gold dust, not an entire city. Yet when Spanish explorers heard the story, they misunderstood it, and that misunderstanding would change history forever. Imagine hearing rumors that somewhere beyond the mountains lies a kingdom where people casually throw emeralds and gold into lakes. Wouldn't you go looking? Thousands did. Entire expeditions disappeared into deadly jungles. Ships crossed oceans. Fortunes were spent. Lives were lost. All because of one story. But what those explorers didn't realize was that something even more valuable than gold was waiting beneath Colombia's mountains, a green crystal that would soon capture the world's imagination. And that was only the beginning. Long before Europe knew emeralds existed, the indigenous people of Colombia already treasured them. To them, emeralds weren't simply beautiful rocks. They were sacred. Imagine holding a crystal that seems to glow from within. Turn it toward the sunlight, and it flashes deep shades of green that almost look alive. Unlike many gemstones, emeralds aren't perfectly clear. Inside them are tiny cracks, bubbles, and patterns that jewelers call the garden. Think of it like fingerprints. Every emerald carries its own tiny landscape inside, making every single stone completely unique. But here's where it gets crazy. These emeralds didn't form overnight, not in 100 years, not in 1,000. They were created nearly 38 million years ago, deep underground. Picture Earth's crust like a giant cracked loaf of bread. Super hot water filled with dissolved minerals, slowly squeezed through those cracks. As that water cooled, tiny crystals began growing inside the rock. Year after year, century after century, million after million years, those crystals slowly transformed into emeralds. Nature wasn't in a hurry. It took millions of years to build what a miner can remove in just a few seconds. Most people don't know this. Emeralds are actually far rarer than diamonds. Diamonds are found in many parts of the world. High-quality emeralds, only a handful of places on Earth produce them, and one country became famous for producing the finest emeralds ever discovered, Colombia. Even today, experts believe Colombian emeralds have the richest, most vibrant green color in the world. That's why collectors, museums, and royal families compete for them. But owning one isn't easy, because before an emerald reaches a jewelry store, someone has to pull it out of one of the harshest environments imaginable. Deep inside mountains, where darkness, heat, collapsing tunnels, and pure luck decide whether a miner goes home rich or doesn't go home at all. And once you see what happens inside those mines, you'll understand why every emerald carries a story of danger. Imagine waking up before sunrise every single day, knowing there's a chance you may never see daylight again. That was, and for many miners, still is, the reality of searching for emeralds. High in the rugged mountains of Colombia, narrow roads twist through steep cliffs and dense forests. Hidden among those mountains are entrances that don't look impressive at all, just dark openings cut into solid rock. But don't let their appearance fool you. Behind those entrances lies a completely different world. A world where the air becomes hotter with every step, where sunlight disappears within minutes, and where every sound echoes through endless tunnels. Think of it like walking into the inside of a giant stone maze. Only this maze can collapse without warning, and somewhere inside it, millions of dollars could be hiding behind a single wall. That's why thousands of miners willingly climb underground every day. Because one good discovery can change an entire family's future forever. But here's the crazy part. Finding an emerald isn't like finding treasure in a pirate movie. There isn't a glowing chest waiting underground. Instead, miners spend hours drilling through solid black rock, often without seeing even the smallest hint of green. Sometimes they work for weeks, sometimes months, sometimes years, and they find absolutely nothing. Imagine buying hundreds of lottery tickets every single day, except each ticket weighs hundreds of kilograms and has to be broken apart with heavy machinery. That's what emerald mining feels like. Most people don't know this. Experienced miners don't simply dig randomly. They search for tiny white mineral veins running through dark rock. Those white lines are like nature's clues. Think of them as arrows pointing toward a hidden prize. When miners spot them, everything changes. Every hammer strike becomes slower. Every movement becomes more careful. Because somewhere inside that rock, an emerald crystal may be waiting. One careless hit could shatter a gemstone that spent 38 million years growing. Imagine destroying something older than humanity with a single swing of a hammer. That's a mistake no miner ever wants to make. And when someone finally spots that first tiny flash of green, the entire tunnel suddenly comes alive. But finding the emerald is only the first challenge. Getting it safely to the surface is an entirely different story, because once an emerald is discovered, everyone wants a piece of it. Now imagine this. A mining company spends millions of dollars digging tunnels deep inside a mountain. Huge machines drill through solid rock. Engineers map every tunnel. Security guards stand watch day and night. Truckloads of broken stone are hauled out every hour. To most people, that discarded rock is nothing more than waste. But to someone else, it's hope. As the mining trucks dump piles of broken shale outside the mine, another group quietly begins to gather. Men, women, teenagers, even elderly people. They carry nothing more than simple tools, buckets, and endless patience. These people are known as guaqueros, independent treasure hunters. Unlike company miners, they don't own expensive equipment. They don't have salaries. They don't even know whether today will bring success or disappointment. They simply search through the leftovers. Think of it like looking through thousands of discarded puzzle pieces, hoping someone accidentally threw away the one piece worth a fortune. It sounds impossible, yet it happens. Sometimes, a tiny emerald slips past the company's sorting process. Maybe it's hidden inside an ordinary-looking rock. Maybe it's covered in dirt. Maybe nobody noticed it. For a guaquero, that tiny mistake can mean everything. Most people don't know this. Some of the most valuable emeralds ever found weren't discovered inside the mine itself. They were found in piles of discarded rock. Imagine spending your whole life searching through what everyone else calls garbage, and one afternoon finding a gemstone worth more than a luxury mansion. Stories like these spread quickly through mining towns. They inspire more people to try their luck. Some leave stable jobs, others travel hundreds of miles. Entire families settle near the mines with one dream: to find the emerald that changes everything. But here's the heartbreaking part. For every person who becomes successful, thousands never find anything valuable. Day after day, they kneel beside muddy rivers, washing stones under the hot sun. Hour after hour, week after week, year after year, many never stop believing, because tomorrow might be the day. Imagine living your entire life powered by hope. That's the invisible force driving Colombia's emerald country. But even after an emerald is found, its journey is far from over. In fact, that's when the real game begins. Because underground, emeralds are priceless. Above ground, their value depends on something almost impossible to judge with the human eye. And that's where buyers, dealers, and master gem experts enter the story. Imagine walking down an ordinary-looking street. There are no giant bank buildings, no flashing signs, no expensive jewelry displays, just dozens of people standing on sidewalks, talking quietly, shaking hands, and pulling tiny folded pieces of paper from their pockets. At first glance, nothing seems unusual, but look closer. Inside those folded papers are emeralds worth more than luxury cars. Welcome to Bogota's famous Emerald District. This is where the world's most valuable green stones begin their journey, from rough rocks to royal jewelry. But here's the interesting part. Unlike a normal store, almost nobody here owns the stones they're carrying. Most of the people walking these streets are brokers. Think of them like matchmakers. Instead of introducing two people, they introduce buyers and sellers. A miner might own an emerald. A collector in Europe wants to buy one. The broker connects them. If the deal succeeds, the broker earns a commission. Simple, but the job is anything but easy. Imagine carrying a gemstone worth hundreds of thousands of dollars through crowded streets every day. No armored truck, no glass display case. Sometimes, just a small piece of folded tissue tucked inside a shirt pocket. That's a level of trust most people can hardly imagine. And trust is everything in the emerald business. Many deals happen with nothing more than a handshake. Why? Because reputations take decades to build and only seconds to destroy. A dishonest broker might make quick money once, but nobody will ever do business with them again. In a market built on relationships, trust is worth even more than emeralds themselves. But here's where it gets crazy. Not every green stone being offered is real. Tourists often arrive hoping to buy an authentic Colombian emerald. Some leave with nothing more than colored glass. Most people don't know this. One common trick is called a doublet. Imagine slicing a real emerald into an incredibly thin layer, almost as thin as a fingernail. That tiny slice is then glued onto ordinary green glass. From above, it looks convincing. It sparkles. It catches the light, but underneath, it's mostly fake. A stone worth only a few dollars can be sold for hundreds, or even thousands, to someone who doesn't know the difference. That's why experienced buyers never rush. They inspect every corner, every crack, every reflection. Sometimes they spend hours examining a single stone because one tiny flaw can change its value dramatically. Think of buying a house. From the outside, it may look perfect, but if the foundation is cracked, everything changes. Emeralds are exactly the same. The outside tells only part of the story. The real secrets are hidden inside, and that's exactly why master cutters become so important, because the next decision can either double an emerald's value or destroy millions of years of nature's work forever. And once you see how a rough crystal becomes one of the world's most expensive gemstones, you'll never look at jewelry the same way again. Imagine holding a rough emerald fresh from the mine. It's dull, uneven, covered with dirt and rough edges. If someone handed it to you, you might not even realize it was valuable. It doesn't look like the sparkling gemstones displayed in luxury jewelry stores. In fact, it looks surprisingly ordinary. But that's because you're only seeing its potential. Think of it like an uncut movie. The scenes have been filmed, the actors have done their job, but until a skilled editor puts everything together, nobody knows whether it will become a masterpiece or a disaster. An emerald is exactly the same. Its true beauty only appears after it's carefully cut. But here's the crazy part. Unlike diamonds, emeralds are incredibly fragile. Yes, they're hard enough to resist scratches, but hardness and toughness aren't the same thing. Think of a glass window. It's difficult to scratch, yet one strong hit can shatter it instantly. Emeralds behave in a very similar way. Inside almost every emerald are tiny natural fractures. Gem experts often call them the emerald's garden, because the patterns resemble tiny forests frozen inside the stone. Those beautiful little marks are part of what makes every emerald unique, but they also make cutting incredibly risky. One wrong move, one tiny mistake, 1 second of too much pressure, and a crystal that survived 38 million years underground can split into worthless pieces. Imagine spending months searching for treasure, only to accidentally destroy it in a matter of seconds. That's why emerald cutting is considered one of the most difficult jobs in the gemstone world. Master cutters study each crystal from every possible angle. They don't simply ask, "How can I make it look beautiful?" They ask, "How can I protect it while revealing its beauty?" That's why emeralds are usually shaped differently from diamonds. Have you ever noticed that many emeralds have large, flat tops and trimmed corners? That's no accident. That famous shape is called the emerald cut. Those clipped corners help protect the fragile edges from breaking. In other words, the shape wasn't created for fashion. It was created for survival. Most people don't know this. When an emerald is finally polished, experts often fill tiny surface-reaching fractures with a clear oil or special resin. Think of filling tiny cracks in a windshield so they become almost invisible. The treatment doesn't create beauty. It simply helps light travel through the stone more smoothly, making the emerald appear clearer and brighter. It's a delicate process that has been practiced for generations. But even after all that work, only a tiny percentage of emeralds become truly extraordinary. The finest stones are so rare that museums, collectors, and even royal families compete to own them. And when one exceptional emerald appears at auction, the entire gemstone world pays attention, because the price of a single emerald can sometimes shock even the wealthiest people on earth. Imagine walking into an auction room. The atmosphere is silent. Collectors from around the world sit patiently, waiting for a single moment. No one is shouting. No one is rushing. On a small velvet cushion sits an emerald no larger than the tip of your thumb. It doesn't glow. It doesn't spin. Yet every pair of eyes in the room is locked onto it, because everyone knows this tiny green stone is about to be worth more than most luxury homes. But here's the crazy part. The value of an emerald isn't measured by size alone. Two stones can weigh exactly the same. One may sell for a few $1,000s, the other for millions. Think of identical twins. From a distance, they might look alike, but once you get closer, you begin to notice the tiny differences that make each one unique. Emeralds are exactly the same. Experts judge them using 4 simple things: color, clarity, cut, and carat weight. But among those 4, color is king. The finest emeralds display a deep, rich green that almost seems to glow from within. Not too dark, not too light, just the perfect balance. Imagine looking into a peaceful forest after fresh rain. Everything looks alive. That's the color collectors dream of. Most people don't know this. An emerald with perfect color can sometimes be worth more than a much larger diamond. That's because nature almost never creates flawless emeralds. Finding one with incredible color and excellent clarity is unbelievably rare, and rarity always drives value. One of the most famous examples is the legendary Rockefeller emerald. The stone weighed just over 18 carats. That may sound small, but when it appeared at auction, collectors from around the world competed fiercely to own it. When the bidding finally stopped, the emerald sold for more than $5.5 million. Imagine paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single carat. That's more expensive than many luxury sports cars. But the Rockefeller emerald isn't valuable simply because it belonged to a famous family. It's valuable because stones of that quality are almost impossible to replace. Nature doesn't have a factory. It can't simply make another one tomorrow. Every extraordinary emerald is one of a kind, and that makes collectors willing to pay almost any price. But here's something even more surprising. Not every priceless emerald ends up inside a vault. Many become crowns, royal necklaces, historic rings, or museum treasures admired by millions of people. Each one quietly carries a story stretching back millions of years, a story most visitors never realize they're looking at. But while collectors chase perfect emeralds, the people living near the mines often see them very differently. To them, an emerald isn't a luxury, it's survival. And that difference has shaped entire communities for generations, because behind every beautiful gemstone lies a human story that few people ever hear. Imagine growing up in a small mountain village where almost every family has the same dream. Not of becoming a movie star, not of becoming a famous athlete, but of finding a single emerald, because one lucky discovery could buy a house, pay for a child's education, or lift an entire family out of poverty. That's the reality in many parts of Colombia's emerald region. For generations, life has revolved around these green stones. Some people work inside the mines, others become brokers, some learn to cut gemstones, others search riverbeds after heavy rains, hoping that nature has washed a hidden emerald into the open. Think of it like people searching beaches with metal detectors after a storm. Most find bottle caps, a few find coins. Once in a lifetime, someone discovers buried treasure. That's exactly the hope that keeps people searching. But here's the interesting part. Emeralds haven't just created wealth. They've also created entire towns. Roads were built because of emeralds. Markets appeared because of emeralds. Schools, businesses, and restaurants all grew around mining communities. A single gemstone helped shape local economies for centuries. Most people don't know this. Even today, Colombia produces a large share of the world's finest emeralds. Whenever someone buys a high-quality Colombian emerald in New York, London, Dubai, Tokyo, or Paris, there's a good chance its journey began inside one of those remote mountain tunnels. Imagine the distance. A crystal forms underground for 38 million years. A miner discovers it. A broker carries it through Bogota. A cutter carefully shapes it. A jeweler places it into a ring. And years later, someone on the other side of the world wears it without ever knowing the incredible journey hidden inside that tiny green stone. That's what makes emeralds different. They aren't just beautiful. They're storytellers. Every tiny fracture inside them remembers the incredible forces that created them. Every polished surface reflects generations of human skill. Every sparkle represents millions of years of patience from nature itself. And maybe that's why emeralds have fascinated humanity for thousands of years. Because when people look into an emerald, they aren't just seeing a gemstone. They're looking into Earth's ancient past. But after everything we've discovered, one question still remains. Why has humanity never stopped chasing these green stones? The answer isn't just about money. It's about something much deeper. And once you understand that, you'll never look at an emerald the same way again. Take a moment and imagine holding a perfect emerald in your hand. It's small enough to fit between your fingertips. It doesn't make a sound. It doesn't move. Yet somehow, it has traveled farther than most people ever will. It began its journey nearly 38 million years ago. Buried beneath enormous mountains where unimaginable heat and pressure slowly transformed ordinary minerals into something extraordinary. Long before humans built cities, long before the first wheel turned, long before the pyramids rose from the Egyptian desert, that emerald was already waiting patiently inside the earth. Think about that for a second. Civilizations have risen and fallen, while this single crystal quietly remained underground. Empires appeared, empires disappeared, kings were crowned, kings were forgotten, but the emerald endured. And then, one day, after millions of years of silence, a miner's hammer finally reached it. That alone is incredible. But here's the crazy part. The story didn't end when the emerald left the mine. In many ways, that's when its real adventure began. It traveled through dangerous mountain roads. It passed through the careful hands of traders and brokers. It survived the risky process of cutting and polishing. It crossed oceans. It entered jewelry stores. Eventually, it became part of someone's most treasured possession. Maybe an engagement ring. Maybe a royal necklace. Maybe a museum exhibit admired by millions. Or perhaps it now rests quietly inside a family jewelry box, waiting to be passed down to the next generation. Most people don't know this. Unlike many luxury items, emeralds often become more meaningful with time. A watch tells time. A phone eventually becomes outdated. Even expensive cars lose value. But an emerald can become part of a family's history. Grandparents pass it to parents. Parents pass it to children. With every generation, the stone gains something more valuable than money. It gains memories. Think of it like a living time capsule. It silently watches birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, family celebrations. It never speaks, yet it becomes part of countless human stories. And perhaps that's the greatest treasure of all. But here's something even deeper. Why have humans spent thousands of years chasing emeralds? Is it really because they're beautiful? Partly. Is it because they're rare? Of course. But those answers don't tell the whole story. Imagine looking into an emerald. Inside its tiny fractures, light dances in ways no other gemstone can perfectly copy. Every stone is unique, every pattern is different. No two emeralds are exactly alike. In a world where machines can mass produce almost everything, nature still refuses to make two identical emeralds. That's what makes them so fascinating. They remind us that perfection isn't about being flawless. Most emeralds contain tiny cracks and natural inclusions, yet collectors treasure those imperfections because they prove the stone is real. Think about that. The very features that might seem like flaws are actually signs of authenticity. Maybe there's a lesson hidden there. People often spend their lives trying to hide their imperfections. Nature does the opposite. It proudly leaves them behind as proof of an incredible journey. Perhaps that's why emeralds continue to captivate us, not because they're perfect, but because they're perfectly natural. So the next time you see an emerald sparkling in a jewelry store, remember, you're not just looking at a beautiful green gemstone. You're looking at 38 million years of Earth's history, a crystal that survived unimaginable pressure deep beneath mountains, a treasure that inspired legends like El Dorado, tempted explorers across oceans, built fortunes, and transformed entire communities. Every emerald carries two stories at once, one written by nature over millions of years, and another written by humanity through adventure, ambition, hope, and perseverance. And maybe that's the real reason emeralds have never lost their magic, because they remind us that the greatest treasures aren't created overnight. They are shaped by time, patience, and countless unseen struggles. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden history behind one of Earth's most fascinating gemstones, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next journey into the incredible stories hidden inside the ordinary things around us. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, because history is hiding in places you would never expect.